we are going to have Assemblymember Al Mertsucci speak. He represents us in the California 66 Assembly District, and here's Al.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Kathy, first of all, for the beautiful tribute to one of my personal heroes, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You know, I just posted a brief statement on Facebook the night before when I found out the sad news on Friday about the loss of one of my heroes. You know, I especially, you know, myself, my daughter, my wife, we watched the RBG documentary many times, and of course we watched it for probably the 6th or 7th time last night. But you know, I always, as a lawyer, I always really appreciated how she had dedicated, you know, her entire life's work, her, you know, countless hours, long hours, working until 4 a.m. in the morning sometimes, to work on those legal briefs that were, you know, really the tools of fighting for women's rights, fighting for equality. And so I wanted to join all of the Palos Verdes Democrats in mourning the loss of Justice Ginsburg. At the same time, to segue on what I wanted to talk about today, of course, we all know, you know, that this is just one more reason, you know, to make sure that we get every person that we know, every person in our lives to participate and to vote in this upcoming election, because, you know, we know that the stakes could not be any higher. If it wasn't high enough, the death of Justice Ginsburg and the future of the United States Supreme Court, the future of issues like, you know, a woman's right to choose, and so many other issues are on the ballot. You know, climate change, healthcare, I mean, on and on. Everything that is important in our lives is at stake. So I just wanted to say hello. I hope everyone is doing well with the Palos Verdes Democrats during these difficult times. You know, of course, you know, down the ballot from the most important thing, the election of our next president and vice president of the United States. Somewhere further down on that ballot is going to be your vote for the state assembly. I humbly ask for your vote and your ongoing support so that I can continue to fight for Palos Verdes, fight for the South Bay, fight for California, and fight for our progressive values. Thank you very much for giving me some time to address the Palos Verdes Democrats today.
Thank you, Al. For some reason my video stopped working, but
I just wanted to say one quick thing, that Al's district overlaps with Maxine Waters a bit, and she needs all the help we can get because she's being challenged by a right-wing $4 million campaign. So we can work for both of those in Torrance and Gardena areas.
That's right. Let's vote for Maxine.
right. I noticed you, at least this time, Al, you don't have a lot of money going against you, so that's very good.
It's the first time in 8 years, so
Yeah.
it's
Requested to speak. Debbie's the girl. She is the candidate for Rolling Hills Estate City Council.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to everybody. I am running for City Council in Rolling Hills Estates, and I would not run if there were not an opening. Judy Mitchell is not running again, and she announced that here at your picnic, I think, during the summer. And I'm fortunate that she's given me her endorsement and she's supporting my candidacy. 2 other incumbents are running. There are 3 seats open, Frank Zerunian and Velvet Schmitz. I have their support as well. And speaking of Senator Allen, I have his support. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Assemblymember Mertsucci, for your support as well. I also, Connie Sullivan arranged for me to get before the AD 66 committee, and they recommended my endorsement to the LA County Dem committee, which came through. So I was endorsed by them as well. Why am I running? Who wants to run into a burning house during a pandemic? Why would somebody want to be in a leadership position at this particular time? I feel like if 2 people or 3 people were not leaving council, it would be bad. There's 1 opening. I hope to be able to fill that. I feel like I'm qualified. I did serve for 2 terms on the PV Library District. Some of my former trustees are on this call. We oversaw a budget that's about the same size as the general fund for Rolling Hills Estates. I'm currently on the General Plan Advisory Committee in Rolling Hills Estates, which gives me a very good view of housing, transportation, sustainability, and things like that. I've been on the Environmental Advisory Committee there for 5 years. We're the only city, I think, that has one. And I'm a former litigator, and I'm currently a UC Board of Regent region. I'm an alumni regent from UC Davis, which is why I made that comment about Prop 16. So I feel like I can handle complex policy, because if UC policy is not complex, I don't know what is. Top 2 issues. People are talking to me about housing density. I know that there have been some bills from Sacramento that seek to allow homeowners to increase density on their own property. I feel that we should be asserting our local control over our land use and our zoning. And I think I would applaud the city council for taking that position, and I would continue that position. And one thing that also concerns me about increasing housing density in Rolling Hills Estates, besides just the density itself, is egress in the event of an emergency. We live in a very high-risk fire area. The other issue I'm hearing a lot about is the commercial area at the top of the hill. All of us on this call probably have shopped there, whether you live in Rolling Hills Estates or not. Clearly, we need to attract retail that people use every day, that's unique, that does not compete with places like Del Amo. I also think that the owners of the office buildings can do more to rehab those buildings in preparation for coming out the other side of the pandemic. People will be using offices differently. And I think that we should be preparing for things like that, like improving the broadband available to the tenants of those buildings to attract them from other locations, creating co-working spaces and things like that. Those are a couple of my top issues. I'm going to type into the chat my website so you can look at it. I appreciate that. It's a low budget campaign, so tell a friend who votes in Rolling Hills Estates, or a few hundred of your friends. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk before this group. And thank you very much, Anne, for allowing me to get to the airport.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Debbie. And
Thank
we'll
you.
also have the link to your website in our newsletter.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any questions for Debbie before we move? Okay. Senator Allen, he represents us in District 26. And are you on?
Hey there. Am I still on mute? No, there you are. Well, hi, everybody. I've been listening in to all of the great descriptions of the propositions while I clean the kitchen, which is one of the great advantages of COVID, I suppose. Anyhow, I just wanted to jump on and say hello. I appreciate everyone in this club a great deal. We finished session a couple of weeks ago up in Sacramento, and I got to say we certainly got some important legislation passed, including paid family leave and a number of other measures. But I can't help but feel a little disappointed, that with such a strong Democratic majority, we've struggled to pass bills in a number of different areas, including the environment. I mean, I had a bill relating to waste reduction and plastics that we were excruciatingly close to getting passed. And I do want to give a special shout out to Al Marzucci, who was a great friend and partner in this effort, and also a number of efforts. I mean, Al had a very righteous bill with regards to setbacks for oil drilling. And we worked very closely together on another one that would have made it easier to get electric vehicles out to folks as part of like a membership model. But so there was a lot of weird things that happened at the end of session. Very, very strange games that were played. But we made it through. We certainly have some bills that I think we can all be proud of. The state, of course, continues to be in a very difficult place because of COVID, because of the wildfires and our budgetary situation, though thank God we took some strong steps earlier to create a bit of a nest egg through the rainy day fund that has allowed us to cushion the financial impact of all of these crises. you know, we obviously appreciate everyone's help a great deal in trying to get out the vote. I can't tell you, this entire morning I was just so steamed up. Dempsey and I know this. The reason why you know, Dempsey and I encouraged me to get on the call to emote a little bit because of how upset I was, thinking when I was watching all of these Republicans on the Sunday morning shows this morning talking about you know, basically coming up with the most ridiculous mental kind of philosophical, you know, like all these hijinks that they, you know, all these games they're trying to play to try to justify their actions on this whole Supreme Court nomination when they were so explicit about their rationale last time around. Nobody said anything about you know, similar parties being in control. No, they said it was inappropriate for us to choose a Supreme Court justice to you know, nominate and then approve a Supreme Court justice during an election year, and it was pretty explicit. And you know, the Sunday morning shows this morning just showed Republican senator after Republican senator making that case. And now to have them, you know, kind of claim that up is down and down is up and black is white and white is black, it's just been so disappointing, including from some senators that I had more respect for. So it just underscores how incredibly important this election is. Very difficult moment for our country. But I will say we're going to just have to, we're really going to have to galvanize. Finally, courts are starting to galvanize Democrats. They've traditionally been something that Republicans care more about, but I think people are starting to see how serious a problem this is. And I will say, you know, it's very likely that they will, you know, be able to go through the nomination hearings by the election, but it's very unlikely that they'll be actually able to hold a vote by the election. And there's two different ways to think about this. One would be to say that you know, after the election they won't feel any compunction to move forward with seating a nominee. But the flip side is that certainly if the Democrats have a strong victory, both in the Senate and in the presidency, it's very possible that we will be able to prevail upon the Republicans to hold back. Under the threat, of course, that if they don't, and they act in such a hypocritical manner, you know, it's within the power of the Congress and the presidency to increase the size of the Supreme Court, which I don't think is an option that should be taken lightly. I really, quite frankly, hope that it's not taken at all. But it is certainly within the power of the political system to increase the number of members of the Supreme Court. And given the absolute outrage with which you know, the approach that the Republicans took toward Merrick Garland, and if they were to backtrack as they seem to be and act in an incredibly hypocritical manner, I think it would be appropriate for us to basically put that, you know, to the more sensible Republicans in the Senate after the election and say, look, you know, it's up to you. You hold back on this vote, or you know, but if you don't, we're going to have to take more drastic measures. And as I say, I lament the fact that we've come to this position, but unfortunately, it seems as though everything in Washington right now is less about honor and more about just raw exercise of power. And so it's you know, it is what it is. But with that being said, that's a federal issue, not one that I have a lot of power over, but one that certainly has gotten me pretty steamed up today. And happy to answer a question or two if folks if folks have any. But just in general, I just appreciate everyone in this club, and I appreciate all the work that I know everybody's been putting in to ensure some major Democratic victories this November.
Hi, Ben. It's Sandy Davidson.
Actually, I'm going to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sandy, but we are really running late here, and I would like that Ben could answer the questions on chat. There were several that came through on chat. And if you could just answer it back on chat while we move on to our other speaker. Is that okay, Sandy?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want me to just go through them or what?
No, can you do it on chat? Just write.
Okay. All right. I'll take a look. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So, because we have quite a bit more to do here, and we have 2 more speakers plus a presentation plus other business. Okay. So our next speaker is Jim Roos. He's the PVE City Council candidate. We also have online Sandy Davidson, but he's not going to be speaking today. He has spoken to our club a couple of times before, and we are going to have Jim Roos speak for 2 minutes here and talk about his candidacy for PVE City Council.
Okay, can you hear me then? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for having me. My name is Jim Roos. I am a candidate for City Council in Palos Verdes Estates. There are 2 seats open there. One is Sandy Davidson. He's running for re-election. Then there's another one, Council Member Kenny Coe's seat, who chose not to run for re-election. For myself, I'll say I have a long and growing list of supporters, including, I think now, 9 former mayors of PVE. I currently serve as a member of the city's planning commission, and in that role I've sought to balance the interests of property owners and neighbors and protect views and privacy, and generally ensure that our city's neighborhood compatibility ordinance is faithfully applied. And I've also participated in the city's efforts to respond to state legislation, state mandates, and advocated for local control and development. Prior to the Planning Commission, I served as the chair of the city's Technology Advisory Committee. On that committee, I was involved in efforts to modernize the city's software systems and some early efforts at setting policy on the deployment of 5G and other wireless technologies. Outside of my involvement in the city, I have been a member of the board of directors for the Monada Bay Homeowners Association, which is a volunteer neighborhood association that primarily sponsors events, many of which some of you may have been to. Unfortunately, all have been canceled this year due to COVID. We also do a large number of improvement projects, including one we're sponsoring right now to re-landscape the area around the Monada Bay Fountain. In my professional life, I had a software engineering group for a major cybersecurity software company. And over the course of my career, I've had increasing levels of responsibility at major software companies, including Broadcom, Microsoft, Symantec, and a cybersecurity startup in which I was among the early engineering leaders prior to its being acquired by Symantec. My goal in becoming a city council member is to build bridges within our community, and I want to ensure that our city has adequate funding to meet its objectives of securing public safety, retaining the character of our neighborhoods, maintaining the city's infrastructure in public areas, and serving the goals of enhancing the quality of life for all residents. I support keeping our PV police department. I also support balanced budgets. I support efforts to tackle the city's unfunded pension liability, and I support efforts to protect our city's parklands. And I think that basically sums it up. Those of you who live in PVE, I hope that you will consider voting for me in this election. And I invite you guys to reach out to me. My website address is just jimroos.com. My email is jimroos@gmail.com. I'll put them both in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me.
Okay, Jim, I just wanted to make one note of obviously Sandy Davidson is an incumbent, but of the other people running, you're the only other person who has been involved with the city, or has held an office with the city? I
am the only one that has an appointed position in the city. That is true. Dawn Murdoch has been serving for the last year as a citizen. I don't exactly understand what the role is, but I think a non-formal committee is part of the ad hoc committee for pensions.
Okay. Any questions for Jim? Okay.
And of course, Sandy is a city council member now. So.
Well, yes, he's our incumbent. He's our Democratic incumbent, right? Very good. Okay, so we have also a candidate for the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District Board of Directors, Jeff Frankel, and he's up next to speak for 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Jeff Frankel. I've never ran for office before, so this is, forgive me with the presentation, but I got motivated to get involved with our schools about 10, 11 years ago, mainly because of my daughter, who was special needs, and I was having a lot of difficulties in getting her services. And unlike a lot of people, I was fortunate to have the means to have her go to an educational psychologist, get all kinds of evaluations to be able to get the district to provide a proper IEP for her. And things started to go pretty well. And I think it was 2-3 years ago, we ran into another problem with her not being able to participate in some extracurricular activities. And I did a post on Nextdoor about it. Didn't really mention any names or what she couldn't participate in, and the support from the community was just, it was overwhelming, to be honest with you. And from that, I decided to start giving back, and I wound up joining the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee. And when I joined that committee, it was honestly pretty much a rubber stamp committee. It's just a bunch of people who would talk. And my first year, I was more of an observer. My second year, I started to reform and really take advantage of when we had speakers come in and start asking the tough questions. Overall, the parcel tax has, at least since I've been on the committee, has been used for what it's supposed to be used for. But we started to put in different testing measures to also see whether the money is serving the purpose that it was supposed to. And with our teacher retention rates and being able to get teachers, everything proved out, to be well. But these weren't the kind of questions that were being asked before. And I think that last year I got the Parcel Tax Committee to also start putting out a document that is pretty transparent with how much money gets collected and where the money goes to. And that's also available on the district website. The district then decided to have a budget advisory committee. And I thought with my business experience in handling budgets around the same size as the districts, that would be a really good opportunity to be able to really give back. What I learned is school district accounting is really, really arcane, and it's not easy to understand. Probably the first year on the committee was just learning how school district accounting even works. Since then, rather than taking the approach of looking for where there's waste, one thing that the district really hasn't done and continues not to do that well is look for areas of revenue. And any business that tries to get balanced budgets or cut themselves to profitability always winds up in huge, huge problems. And I've brought to the table that haven't been executed yet some different ideas of revenue opportunities. And some of it is just getting state funding from different areas like Medi-Cal to pay for some of the special ed services. There's a program that many school districts are already part of. It would actually wind up being about $300,000 a year for our district. Our district also has a TTI program for older special ed kids. And the California Department of Rehabilitation also provides services that our TTI program could be taking advantage of, and would just allow the district to shift dollars to other programs.
Excuse me, Jeff, we are running over your 2 minutes. Could you,
Okay.
you have,
All right.
it's just that we have a lot on the agenda, and if there's extra things in terms of what you're for, if you want to email that to me, we can include it when we do our newsletter.
All right, well, I just would encourage anybody to go to my website to be able to read more. And just, if you can just give me another 10 seconds. Politics is local. And I really encourage, the Palos Verdes Democrats to give, not just to be thinking about the national elections, but give Sandy Davidson full support, Jim Roos, Debbie full support, and myself full support in getting lawn signs. I've seen what's happened to the city of Torrance, where very conservative Republicans have taken over that city council. It's starting to happen in Palos Verdes Estates. It's starting to happen in Rancho PV, and it's really time for the PV Dems to come together and give everybody full support. And I hope this doesn't sound self-serving. I really believe that from my heart.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.